In the midst of escalating tensions in the Middle East, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to embark on a pivotal journey to the region. His mission, shrouded in urgency, aims to navigate the fraught landscape of U.S. goals and interests, particularly regarding the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. As political pressures mount, especially with Vice President Harris facing challenges in her election race due to Israel's actions, Blinken seeks to broker a ceasefire deal that could reshape the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The stakes are high, reflecting the complexities of the international diplomacy in a volatile environment. Welcome to In Depth. Well, welcome back. And following the assassination of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, the Washington Post reports that international diplomats are seizing the moment to renew ceasefire discussions in Gaza and address the detainees crisis. The American newspaper reported that President Biden has announced that Secretary of State Antony Blinken would visit Israel soon, while Vice President Harris emphasized the opportunity to end the conflict. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu held emergency meetings to strategize on detainees' safety. Meanwhile, opinions in Israel diverge on whether to pursue negotiations or continue military actions against Hamas and Hezbollah as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza worsens. As Secretary of State Antony Blinken prepares for a crucial trip to the Middle East, the urgency of his mission escalates with over 42,000 lives lost in Gaza's humanitarian crisis. Blinken aims to negotiate a ceasefire that addresses immediate needs while navigating complex U.S. interests in the region.
As Secretary of State Antony Blinken gears up for his upcoming trip to the Middle East, the stakes have never been higher. With the humanitarian crisis in Gaza reaching catastrophic levels, over 42,000 lives lost, Blinken's mission is to negotiate a ceasefire that not only addresses immediate humanitarian needs, but also aligns with U.S. interests in the region. The stakes are high, not just for the region, but also for U.S. domestic politics. President Biden has tasked Blinken with engaging Israeli leaders to discuss what the administration refers to as the day after, a strategic vision for the region following the recent escalations in conflict. As tensions rise, Blinken's visit aims to address both short-term security concerns and long-term U.S. goals, including ensuring Israel's security, stabilizing oil markets, and countering threats from Iran. However, the U.S.'s firm support for Israel complicates domestic political dynamics. As violence escalates, public sentiment in the U.S. is shifting, placing additional pressure on Vice President Kamala Harris as she prepares for the upcoming election. Scrutiny is mounting over U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts, creating a challenging landscape for the Biden administration. In this intricate dance of diplomacy, Blinken's visit is not just about immediate relief. It's a strategic maneuver aimed at reshaping U.S. violence in a volatile region. The outcomes of his discussions could significantly shape both the future of the Middle East and the electoral landscape back home, making this trip one of profound importance.
Welcome back. And as Secretary Antony Blinken prepares for a critical journey to the Middle East, the world watches closely. We're joined today by Mr. Amgad Al-Shawa, the director of the Palestinian Non-Governmental Organizations Network from Deir al-Balah, and Ahmed El-Yassiri, the director of the Australian Arab Centre for Strategic Studies from Sydney, to unpack Blinken's objectives, the responses from Israel and Hamas, and the broader implications of the diplomatic missions. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Right. Mr. Shawa, what are the primary objectives of Secretary Blinken's visit to the Middle East, and how do they align with U.S. interests in the region?
Thank you. We're all following the issue of the American election, presidential elections, which will come in a few weeks. That part of the electoral campaign that he's doing. I doubt that Blinken will do anything for stop this war in the civilians while Israel continues its escalation on all levels. First, now what's going on in the north of Gaza Strip, we witness massacres and the isolation of the north area of Gaza Strip. And today we have more than 60 people killed. The three main hospitals were attacked by the Israelis. Also the shelters and the sites where the IDBs there, now it's attacked by the Israeli tanks. About 500 people in the north killed from the early beginning of this month. So we have these doubts regarding his visit, and in each visit that he is paying to the area, we have concerns about the results of these trips. Blinken is practicing double standards towards what's going on in the Palestinian territories and mainly in Gaza Strip, and they have obvious, clear position towards Gaza Strip. The war, it's in Gaza, and the people of Gaza. The number of people who were killed, most of them were children, women, the destruction of the infrastructure, the civilian premises, and the suffering continue regarding the children and women in Gaza. This is something that Blinken will use in his campaign to elevate part of the suffering, could be to enter some humanitarian aid, but I doubt that there will be kind of also response from Netanyahu towards Blinken efforts in order to have a real ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
Mr. Yassiri, from your point of view, what could be the approach of Blinken to facilitate a ceasefire? And what would be the impact of this approach to see or to observe the U.S. credibility in the eyes of both allies and adversaries in the Middle East?
Thanks, Mona, for having me.
Thank you so much.
The importance of Blinken visit in the context of current events, that there is some opportunity to make the Gaza deal after Sinwar death. Blinken goals, in my opinion, releasing the hostages, bringing in aid, and preparing for a political settlement in Gaza by Arab countries' contribution. Analysis of the main causes of the conflict and its impact on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The main reasons declared by Israel for the conflict in Gaza are first, destroying Hamas, second, forming an armed government in Gaza, and third, releasing hostages. But to be honest, it's nothing happened from those three things. So they destroying Gaza. They are they failed to do anything, and the people of Gaza is in trouble right now. So hopefully, Blinken visit to our region do something to finish this terrible war in Gaza. Yes.
We're speaking here that the U.S. credibility as a mediator is at stake. We'll come to you back, Mr. Yassiri. And Mr. Shawa, how might Israel's recent escalation in Gaza affect Vice President Harris' electoral campaign, particularly in light of her administration's foreign policy goals?
I think for us, the Democratic Party and the President Biden are accountable. From the early beginning of this war, they have one-sided position towards what's going on in the in the Palestinian territory. And I will not make kind of judgment only on the war and before the war. The political horizon that created by Biden himself for the Palestinian-Israeli issue, it's nothing went forward. Although the promises that he gave to have this kind of pressure on Israel to go back to the negotiation tracks and to respect the UN resolution related to the one state, two-state solution. It's nothing. Also, Netanyahu himself declared so many times that he ignored and denied any efforts towards the achieving with the two-state solution. So now Kamala Harris is coming with the same perspective, the same, with nothing new in order to achieve or plan in order to achieve such perspective towards the applying of the two-state solution. And in the same time, what's in the beginning of this war, they have one-sided position towards what's going on. They stand with Israel against the Palestinians. They close the eyes towards this catastrophe that we are in as Palestinians. And they also refuse any kind of accountability towards these genocide crimes committed by Israel and the pressure both on the ECC and the ICC towards to get Israel accountable towards these crimes. So, and also the issue of the humanitarian aid. They want to beautify the Israeli positions in the American side, on the world side. The American veto, which used many times on regarding not to get any resolution regarding the status of Gaza Strip and the catastrophe and to stop the war crimes. Also, the first time to have American project in the Security Council also denied itself by the Americans themselves. So how we can get trust on Kamala Harris or the Democrat Party or Biden or Kamala Harris? We want to see real positions, real actions towards ending this war. Each minute is passing through. We have more people killed, most of them children. More catastrophic conditions will be applied on the Palestinians who are facing this offensive, and this is this humanitarian crisis with awful meaning that we have.
Now, Mr. Yassiri, putting on what we were speaking about and speaking more, in which ways does Israel's escalation in Gaza complicate the U.S. diplomatic efforts, particularly regarding the relationship with Arab nations? And also, we're speaking about unrealistic demands from Israel for a ceasefire.
Well, Netanyahu, I believe Netanyahu is only betting on more, but he also needs support from USA. So this is an important opportunity for Mr. Blinken to do something, like for example, there's about Israeli. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, please, Mr. Yassiri. I can hear you. Please continue. Right, until we're back to Mr. Yassiri, Mr. Shawa, from your point of view, the role that is played by the international pressure, and there is a kind of shock regarding the international role played. What could be the international role that could be played to or in shaping the position of both Israel and Hamas during this crisis?
First of all, they have to exert the pressure on Israel to stop its grave violation to the international law and to get justice to the victims. And third, which is to have it, which is an access to humanitarian aid and free access to enter all the needs. The third, which is the fourth, which we have to create kind of political horizon after this war, which Israel deny and don't want to have it. And this is one of the big obstacles not to achieve any ceasefire agreement, because Israel refused to have any political horizon or any political solutions that they can go for negotiation with the Palestinians regarding application of the two-state solutions and the self-determination for the Palestinians. So I cannot see any movement forward while the U.S. is providing Israel with the weapons and give its protection towards Israel, while the Palestinian civilians are slaughtered and killed by the Israeli attacks by the American weapons itself, and such immunity gave by the Americans to the Israelis. So the international community can work towards the U.S. administration in this very sensitive time that we are going through. And I can tell you now, confirm that we are passing through the most difficult times in the Israel war in Gaza, while famine and thirsty, and we have this disaster that we are in, getting the worst in the last 1 year. So we urge on the international community in order to act, to apply the international law, the international humanitarian law, the UN resolutions that agreed and issued by the humanity. So this is one of the things that we are looking forward this, and to stop providing Israel with weapons for sure.
From your point of view, what are the main causes of the ongoing conflict and its impact on the humanitarian crisis and the humanitarian situation?
As the Secretary General of the UN said, we cannot separate what happened in October from the Palestinian suffering along the years from 1948 to now, the ignorance of the Palestinian rights by Israel, the destruction of the live facilities and infrastructure, the confiscation of land, the issue of Jerusalem, the issue of the settlements, all these caused these kind of conditions that we are in. And Israel, through this war in Gaza, want to destroy first any dream of any connectivity between Gaza and West Bank, and the second, to destroy the Palestinian national project and to make the Palestinian issue is a humanitarian issue, and to apply separate solutions, one for Gaza and the second for the West Bank, which is partial solutions, and each one can live in kind of administrative status that they can choose and conditions to deny the legitimate rights of the Palestinians that we all live to struggle in order to have such status that we have a Palestinian state with Jerusalem as a capital. So Israel, in ally with the US, is going forward application of such a project.
Before we dive deeper into our discussion, let's take a look at Gaza's ceasefire deal and negotiations milestones. Stay with us. Well, welcome back, and back to you, Mr. Shawa. And what are the potential long-term implications of this conflict for U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East moving forward?
In the humanitarian level, that, as I said, we have an unprecedented implications of the Israeli war in Gaza. Israel want to have to make Gaza as unlivable place for tens of years, through the destruction and through the traumatized people who are staying in Gaza, and to have destruction all socio-economic infrastructure also, which will have implication for the future of the Gazans. The second, to destroy any future for the national project of the Palestinians to have state with Jerusalem as the capital in 1967 borders. So this is Israel will, that's what, and we have warned from that this will move from Gaza to the West Bank, and it's happened in the north of the West Bank. The same tactics to attack the Palestinians through these genocide attacks, and now it's moving to Lebanon. So without accountability, application of accountability on Israel, this will continue on the West Bank, and we will witness more settlements and land confiscation for the sake of the settlers. So, and the second point, the collapse of any pressure on Israel through these American administrations that we will witness, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and we have this high concerns if we have this Democrat administration and what we witnessed through Biden administration in the 4 years. More escalation from Israel, more ignorance.
So, from your point of view, how critical is Blinken's visit at this very particular moment, given the current geopolitical landscape and the humanitarian concerns?
We are not relying on the American administration to impose any ceasefire which can respect the rights of the Palestinians and to end their suffering. And we have concerns about these American policies towards the Palestinians. Along the history, there is no evidence that the Americans once have been sided towards the Palestinian rights, which is we as Palestinians were calling for the application of the international law, for the UN resolutions, for justice and the human rights principles. And what we witnessed from the Americans, more support to Israel, more double standards. So we are looking forward that these continuous administrations in the American side will apply these principles and to pressure this right-wing government, which is right-wing government in the history of Israel. So we're looking forward to that, to move the pressure on the Israeli government and to make them respect their commitments according to the UN resolutions.
Now, this is not the first visit of Blinken to the Middle East. From your point of view, how have Israel and Hamas so far responded to Blinken's diplomatic efforts, and what does this indicate about their willingness to negotiate?
We rely on the Egyptian efforts. We rely on the Qatari efforts.
Before I go to the Egyptian efforts or any other mediators, I'm speaking about Mr. Blinken himself, and this is not his first visit to the Middle East. How have so far Hamas and Israel responded to the negotiations, and what does this indicate?
Till now, there is no response from any about the new trip of Blinken to the area, and till now there is no indication that there is a new proposals delivered to the Israeli side or to the Palestinian side in order to negotiate based on them. Till now, we have just we do receive from the American side only support to Israel in its. So we are looking for a new initiative to pressure Israel to respect the UN resolution or the Security Council resolution.
Yes, Mr. Shawa, your point is very clear, and we are awaiting for new initiatives. That was Mr. Amgad El-Shawa, the director of the Palestinian Non-Governmental Organization Network, and Mr. Ahmed El-Yassiri, the director of the Australian Arab Centers for Strategic Studies. And as Blinken embarks on his critical mission to the Middle East, the world holds its breath. Will his efforts pave the way for peace, or will political obstacles thwart a much-needed ceasefire? Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. Stay tuned for more exclusive stories here on QNews. Many thanks for watching.